In this hard and cruel world, there are times when it seems that everything is working against you and you feel like you are completely alone, as if no one cares about you. You feel lost and don't know what to do next. But even in those dark days, there is always hope. Sometimes you just need to make the first step towards a better life, and everything will fall into place by itself. This is exactly what happened to the main character of our story today. He was born into an ordinary family and lived an ordinary life until he realized that he wanted to be stronger. After that moment, his life changed drastically. Now our hero has become so powerful that everyone around him is afraid and respects him. Today, we will tell you his incredible story. Chapter 1. Looking for Answers. Mark was born and raised in a small town. His parents were simple people who worked as teachers at the local school. Mark had everything he needed to live a happy life. He wasn't rich, but he wasn't poor either. So why did he feel so unhappy? Mark couldn't explain it himself. He just felt empty inside. His parents loved him very much, but they had absolutely no idea how to deal with their son's sudden depression. They tried everything they could think of to cheer him up, but nothing worked. Mark didn't want to talk to anyone. All he did was sit in his room all day long. His only company was a stray dog he found one day and named Rusty. At some point, Mark's parents gave up trying to fix their son's problems. They thought that he would snap out of it eventually, but they were wrong. Mark's condition only got worse over time, and when he turned 18, his parents decided to send him to a psychologist. Of course, Mark didn't want to go to that appointment, but he had no choice. When the doctor asked him what was wrong, Mark replied that he didn't know. He felt empty and didn't know how to fill the void inside of him. The psychologist tried to help him, but after several sessions, she had to admit that she couldn't fix Mark's problems. She advised him to try something new, get a job, take up some kind of sport, but Mark refused. He just didn't want to do anything. It seemed as if Mark's life would turn into a never-ending nightmare. But one day, everything changed. While walking down the street, he saw an old dilapidated gym. Something told him to enter it, so he did. Inside, there was no one except for a burly, muscular man sitting behind the reception desk. "Can I help you?" the man asked Mark. I don't really know," Mark stammered. I wanted to ask if you could help me become strong." The man looked at Mark as if he were some kind of animal in a zoo. "Strong? Do you even know what it means to be strong?" he finally asked. I don't know," Mark admitted. The man fell silent again, thinking about something. Then he nodded slowly. "Well, I guess I can teach you. Are you ready to become strong?" "Yes, sir," Mark replied without hesitation. And so Mark began his training. At first, he could barely lift a 25 kilograms barbell, but as the days went by, he got stronger and more confident. Mark still didn't know why he wanted to become strong, but it didn't matter anymore. He liked it. Chapter 2. A Reason to Live. As Mark continued his training, he began to notice changes not only in his body, but also in his soul. For the first time in years, he woke up feeling cheerful. His inner emptiness was gone, replaced by a burning desire to become stronger. Mark started to spend all his free time at the gym, and soon enough, he became friends with the staff. One day, while having lunch with his new friends, Mark suddenly realized why he wanted to become strong. It wasn't just about being physically fit or having a good-looking body. It was about having the strength to protect those who were weaker than him, like his mom and dad. From that moment on, Mark became even more dedicated to his training. He studied everything he could about becoming strong and soon became known throughout the city as the strongest young man around. People were amazed by his dedication and results, and many of them wanted to know what kind of training program he was following. Mark wasn't the kind of person who liked to boast, but he was proud of his achievements and was happy to share his knowledge with others. As Mark continued to grow stronger, he also began to attract the attention of other gyms. Soon, he was offered a job as a trainer at one of the best gyms in town, which paid much better than the old one. But despite the fact that Mark was now making good money and was considered one of the best trainers in the city, he remained humble. He never forgot where he came from and how hard it was for him to find his place in this world. One day, Mark noticed a new face in the gym. It was a young man about Mark's age who looked lost and confused. Mark remembered how he himself felt when he first started going to the gym, and so he decided to approach the young man and see if he could help him. As it turned out, the young man's name was David, and he was going through a difficult period in his life. He had recently moved to another city because of his work and was still looking for a place to live. On top of that, he had no one in this city except for his younger sister, who he hadn't seen in years. Mark immediately felt a connection with this guy. He knew what it was like to feel lonely and have no one to turn to, and he wanted to help David. Mark invited him to come train with him, and David accepted the offer. As the weeks went by, Mark became a mentor and friend to David. He taught him how to train, how to eat right, and most importantly, how to believe in himself again. Chapter 3. Facing Adversity. David was grateful to Mark for his help. He was going through a tough time in his life, and Mark was the only person who reached out to him without expecting anything in return. David was determined to succeed and make Mark proud. However, fate had other plans for him. One day, David's boss fired him without any explanation. David was devastated. He had no job, no money, and now he couldn't even pay rent for the apartment he shared with his sister. David tried to call his boss and ask him to reconsider his decision, but it was no use. His boss was adamant and refused to listen to reason. Desperate, David called Mark and asked him if he could stay at his place for a few days, until he got back on his feet. Mark didn't hesitate for a second. He told David to come over and not to worry about anything. When David arrived at Mark's house, he could see that Mark's parents were also there. Mark's mother was cooking dinner, and his father was watching TV. Mark introduced them and explained the situation to his parents, and they welcomed David as if he were their own son. Mark let David stay in his guest room and gave him all the support he needed. However, David still felt guilty for being a burden to Mark. He tried to look for a new job immediately, but it wasn't easy. Days turned into weeks, and David was starting to lose hope. One day, David told Mark that he was going to give up and go back to his hometown. He didn't want to be a burden to Mark anymore. But Mark didn't let him leave. He told David that he was his friend, and friends help each other out in difficult times. Then Mark came up with an idea. He talked to his parents, and they agreed to help David. Mark's father found a great job for David, and his mother gave him some money to help him get started. David was grateful to Mark and his family for their support. He promised to pay them back as soon as he could, but Mark told him not to worry about it. He was happy to help him. A year passed, and David kept his promise. He became a successful businessman and was able to pay back everyone who helped him. Most importantly, he became a strong and confident man thanks to Mark's help. David never forgot what Mark had done for him, and he was always grateful for his friendship and support. And that is the end of our story. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the like button. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.